It's now time to move on to the formatting worksheets part of the course. And we're going to start out by exploring a few more options that you have when it comes to working with rows and columns. So as we've already seen in previous lessons, it is pretty easy to resize rows and columns. We can simply grab the dividing border, drag in to make the column narrower, drag out to make it wider. We can also invoke AutoFit by selecting all of the columns and double-clicking to resize all of the columns to the width of the widest item in the cell. And we can also do the same with our rows. We can drag them up and drag them down, or alternatively, if we have a few that are the wrong height, we can select all of the rows and double-click the row boundary just to invoke that AutoFit feature. So that is all fairly straightforward. What about if we want to insert new rows or new columns? Quite often you might have put a data table together like we have here, and then maybe I decide that I want to add an additional column into this table. Now, if I want to add a column onto the end, that's fairly straightforward. I can just start typing in column D. But what about if I want one in the middle of this table? Well, when it comes to inserting columns, there are a few different methods that you can use, and I'll leave it up to you to choose the one that you prefer. So the first method we can use is to select the column, in this case column B, right-click the mouse to open up the contextual menu, and you'll notice halfway down we have an Insert button. If I click on Insert, it's going to insert a new blank column to the left of the column that I've selected. The second way that I can insert a new column is to use the ribbons. So if we go up to the Home ribbon, across to the Cells group, we have this little Insert drop-down just here. And one of the options that we have is to insert sheet columns. And once again, it's going to insert that brand new column to the left of the column that I had selected. Now, what about if I want to insert multiple columns? Well, what I could do here is select both columns, right-click, insert, and it's going to insert another two. I could then select 4 columns. Let's go to Insert on the Home ribbon and Insert Sheet Columns, and I'm going to get another 4. Now, for me, I don't find either of these methods the quickest way to insert columns. I much prefer to use the keyboard shortcut. So let me show you how that works. I'm going to select column B, and if I want to insert a brand new column, I can simply press Ctrl+Shift+, and that's going to insert another column. If I want to insert multiple, it's very simple, just to keep pressing the plus. So Ctrl+Shift++++ to add more and more columns. For me, that is a lot quicker and a lot more efficient. And we can use exactly the same methods for inserting brand new rows. So if I right-click, I can say Insert to insert a new blank row. I can use the Home ribbon, Insert and Insert Sheet Rows, or I can use Ctrl+Shift+++ to add as many rows as I like. So now that we have all of these random blank rows and columns, what about if I want to delete them? Again, the methods that we have access to are very similar to inserting rows and columns. I could select one column, right-click my mouse and choose Delete. Alternatively, I could select multiple columns. On that Home ribbon, in the Cells group, I have a Delete drop-down as well. So from here, I could choose Delete Sheet Columns to get rid of them. But again, my preferred method is to use the keyboard shortcut. So I'm going to select all of these columns, and this time we're going to press Ctrl - to delete out those columns. Now, another little trick I want to show you when it comes to deleting blank rows or columns is by using a little tool called Go To Special. Now you can see currently we have a few blank rows in this data set. Now this is fairly easy for me to delete. I can just select them and use any of the methods to delete rows that I've already shown you. But what about if I had a much longer data set? Let's say I had 10,000 rows and there were blank rows scattered throughout the data set. It's going to be quite time consuming for me to scroll through that dataset, find each blank row, and then delete it. So let me show you a very quick way to find all blank rows, and this applies to columns as well, it's the same process, in the table and delete them all in one go. So what I could do here is select my entire table of data, up to the Home tab, and then across to the Find and Select option in that editing group. And we want to select Go to Special. Now, if you're really into your keyboard shortcuts, let me show you how you can get here using a shortcut. Now, there isn't a shortcut key that's going to take you directly to this Go to Special dialog box, but what you can do is press Ctrl G to take you to the Go to dialog box and then simply click Special. Once we're in here, we can choose to select just the blanks in our selected range. So when I click on OK, it's just going to select all of the blank rows in my dataset, and then I can delete them all in one go by clicking the Delete drop-down and Delete Sheet Rows. So that is a really nice efficiency tip if you need to remove all blank rows or columns from a dataset. Now, the final thing I want to show you here is how you can hide and unhide rows and columns. And the hide option is great if you don't want to delete a column of data, but you just don't want it showing in the worksheet. So maybe I want to hide the amount column. I can select the entire column, right-click, and then I can choose to hide. Now, notice that that column hasn't been deleted, it's still there, but we just can't see it when we're looking at this worksheet. Notice that the column letters now go from B to D, which tells me that I have a hidden column just here. I could also do the same thing for rows, and I can do multiple if I want to. Right-click and select Hide. Notice that you also have these options on the ribbon, so if I select a row again, up to Home, into that cells group, underneath that format drop-down, we have hide and unhide options. So we can hide rows, hide columns, and hide sheets. So I'm going to say hide rows. Now, if you want to unhide rows and columns, for example, if I want to unhide column C, I need to select the columns either side of the hidden column, right-click my mouse, and then I can choose to unhide. If I have lots of hidden columns and rows on my worksheet, I could select the entire worksheet and then unhide everything. Now, a quick way to select the entire worksheet is to click outside of your data and press Ctrl A, or alternatively, if you hover your mouse over this little square in the top left-hand corner and click, that's also going to select everything. I can then right-click and say unhide, and that's going to unhide all of the hidden rows and columns.